We will talk about the Kaveri jet engine. Kaveri engine is an indigenous gas turbine engine designed and developed by DRDO's Gas Turbine Research Establishment, that is GTRE. It is a low bypass twin spool turbofan engine of 80 kilonewton thrust class. Now, twin lane full authority digital control with an adequate manual backup is a salient feature of this particular engine. Over the years, the Kaveri engine has gone through several tests both on ground and mid-air as well. It was flown in 2010 for about 70 hours on board an IL-76 for height, altitude and speed tests. However, it was not used for indigenously developed LCA Tejas. Experts say many problems with Kaveri engines include decayed performance at high altitude, combustion flicker, insufficient thrust and noise at high throttle testing. To further understand more about Kaveri engine, its problems and how can this indigenous project be revived, we have with us a distinguished panel of guests in the studio. Let me first introduce the guests to you, beginning with Retired Major General Ravi Arora, Chief Editor of Indian Military Review. We also have with us Retired Air Marshal V.K. Bhatia, our defence expert here, and Mr. Manu Pabi, the Senior Editor from Economic Times. Let me begin with you, General Arora, and let's start with the journey as far as Kaveri jet engine is concerned. I presume it started somewhere in late 80s, early 90s?
Yes, when the light combat aircraft Tejas was on the drawing board, the government decided that we will design, develop and produce our own engine. So this Kaveri engine was sanctioned in 1989 at a cost of 382 crores, with 7 years given for the planned completion date, 1996. Later there were delays and cost delays, cost overruns, and in 2004 more funds were allotted, went up to 2,800 crores and a new date was given, that is 2009 for the engine to be developed. Today it is 30 years and the Kaveri has turned into a technology demonstrator. It has been declared by the Defence Minister in Parliament that it will now power the unarmed combat aerial vehicle. And in some ways you can say it has been a failure, in some ways it has been a success. Success in the sense that GTRE and DRDO and other labs as well as HAL has learned a lot during the development journey. What have they learned? One is that this engine has undergone flight test bed testing on an IL-76, 77 hours of flying on this platform. Although it has run 2,250 hours of testing both on ground and on the flight test bed, it has produced a thrust of 49.5 kilonewtons as against 51 kilonewtons, which is the dry thrust without reheating. It was planned at 51, so it is very close to the planned figure. But when it comes to reheating or wet thrust, it achieved 70.4 kilonewtons against 81 that was planned. Now over the years the requirement of the Air Force has changed. The Air Force now wants 75 kilonewton as the dry thrust and 110 kilonewtons as the wet thrust. So that is why in a way it's a failure, in a way it's not a failure. This is a project which was very ambitious. The GTRE has bitten off more that it could chew. Only 4 countries in the world have developed and produced aero engines. Without going through the initial steps of producing engines of smaller thrust and for smaller aircraft, we went for the big one without the infrastructure, without the testing facilities, without the metallurgy, the knowledge, without the materials available, the components available. And it requires big money to produce an aero engine. So I think somewhere during this journey we made mistakes. We did not learn from past mistakes also, which I can dwell upon a little later.
Okay, we'll come to that, but let's go across to A. Marshal Bhatia here, and let's now move slightly towards specifics. But beginning with your views as far as Kaveri jet engine is concerned, A. Marshal Bhatia, is it a failure, is it a success, or is it something which gives us a lot to learn in the longer run?
Well, let's go back to the history, you know. What was Kaveri engine? Kaveri engine actually was conceptualized to be the power plant for the indigenous Tejas aircraft, LCA. Has it done that? Has it done that? The answer is no. It has not been able to come anywhere close to the Tejas to be installed as a power plant for that particular aircraft. Reasons are many, but I think, like my colleague has just mentioned, perhaps we were too over-ambitious. As a matter of fact, I would say the initial planning itself was faulty. Can you imagine just giving $50 million to design and develop a turbofan jet engine starting from scratch? I think is the most unrealistic way of looking at things. When we know that these engines, when they are developed in various countries, they can go up to $1 to $2 billion in terms of development costs.
Okay.
So you can imagine how faulty your thinking was. Second thing, just giving say 5 or 6 years for its development. You look at the M88 engine, which is now fitted on the Rafale aircraft. That itself took about 13 to 15 years before it came anywhere close to being installed in the Rafale. And even here, they are looking for improvements on that particular engine. So our initial thinking was wrong. And then we went about it without getting into any kind of, shall we say, technological joint venture with some people who knew about it. We had no knowledge. We started from scratch.
Okay.
It is not easy to develop a jet engine. It's easier perhaps to actually create a rocket which can go to the moon. But to create a jet engine is more complex. And it's so complex that a nation or a country which has had no previous experience will find it very difficult. And that's exactly what happened in our case.
Okay.
So
we'll come to the specifics as well. Let me first bring in Manu here, and then I'll come back to you on what exactly you think is wrong. But Manu, as both the gentlemen put it here, and if you look at the timeline also, 3 decades, that's a long time.
No, I agree. See, the Kaveri engine was a good concept at a wrong time. Remember the 90s, India in the 90s, this paucity of funds, your technological backup was not developed. You didn't have all the missile programs which are functioning now. So the idea concept was right, but in the 90s when we started doing the work, India just didn't have the technical know-how and the industry to support the development of such an engine. Now is the right time. Now 30 years later, we have a robust space program. We have a great missile system. So a lot of technologies which were not available to us in the 90s are now available. Plus, India is at a position where it can now put in more money. Like the Marshal brought out, 50 million was something which is laughable at that time, even at that time. But now is the time when you have the money, where you have even foreigners who are willing to collaborate. Remember the 90s, India was not what it is right now. We didn't have that many options as far as foreign partners were concerned. We had to test the engine with the Russians because we didn't have any other option on the table at that time.
And there was a sanctions period as well.
It was sanctions period as well. That's what hit the LCA. So I think now is a time that we learned a lot from the engine. We learned basically, what did we learn from the project? We learned on the right questions to ask. So now when our scientists go in and develop an engine and they have foreign collaborators, they know the right questions. Even that journey has taken a long time for them to come to. And I think that if this program is revived, it has to be a brand new engine. There's a great potential for it, and the learning that has come in will have dividends in whatever we do from now on in the aviation sector.
Okay, so we know what the questions are as far as this project is concerned, and we're learning to answer them as well. Let me now go back to both General Arora and A. Marshal Bhatia, and let me begin with you, A. Marshal Bhatia, on the specifics as far as the problems with the Kaveri jet engine are concerned, and how do you think those can be resolved if we have to go ahead and revive this project, which all of you are in agreement that we have to do it now?
You see, once again, we have to first understand what are our own limitations, how far we can go, and what are the various areas where we need a certain amount of, shall we say, technological help so that we can get over the problems.
Okay.
Now, what have been the problems? I think initial the thing, you brought it out yourself, that, for example, it had the problems with the turbine blades. And you know, the turbine blades had a tendency at higher RPMs of just flying away. And you know, the turbine blade technology is very, very complex. And the kind of metallurgy which is required to produce these, balancing and so on and so forth, it is really complex. But the main problem was also with the core of the engine. They have been able to overcome that by using the M88 core now. And I think where we are, as Manu has brought it out, perhaps on the right lines, because on the sidelines of the Rafale deal, we are now going in with SNECMA to form a JV and be able to produce this engine, or shall we say, revive the engine, Kaveri, and build it to its logical conclusion.
Okay.
So what we need basically is a technological know-how. We have to get over that metallurgical problems, and we have to now decide. We have come a long way, as Manu said, but there are few things which are so very, very important that we have to overcome those problems.
Okay.
And I personally feel that we'll be able to overcome those problems with our joint venture with SNECMA if we go about in the right way.
Okay. So there are certain sticky issues, and you know, the problem points, if you look at General Arora, from your point of view, where are we stuck as far as Kaveri engine is concerned, and from your point of view, what are the solutions here?
We had put the cart before the horse. Now, how do you solve this problem? I doubt if there is a solution with this engine itself. This engine had a technical problem in the sense that it has got two parts. The inner core is called the cabini, which GTRE had developed, and temperatures in that core go up to 1300 degrees centigrade, and that is why it requires special kind of turbine blades, as the Air Marshal said, what they call integrated single blade discs and crystal blades. That is the technology nobody has shared and we don't have. So, but you know, when I said cart before the horse, when anybody develops an aircraft, they first decide on the class of the aircraft, the weight of the aircraft, say 10 to 15 tons, and then select a proven engine, an engine which has already been tested and proven itself. And then you develop the airframe around that engine and you cater for extra weight, extra space for later developments. That was not done. And a similar mistake was made when the HF-24 Marut was designed. In 1960, we had the NAT, which performed very well in 65 and 71 wars. I wonder which aircraft the Air Marshal was flying in 71. Which one was that, sir?
Sukhoi 7s.
Okay, Sukhoi 7 he was flying, but he can vouch for the NAT. It was called the Sabre Killer. It was, it had a power plant called the Rolls-Royce Orpheus 703. It was inducted in the 1960s. And we started planning the HF-24 Marut in 1956. By 1961, it had flown. Again, with no engine in mind. And when it came to the engine, luckily Rolls-Royce was designing a better engine than the Orpheus 703 for the Royal Air Force, which was thinking of a new version of the NAT. But later, when the Royal Air Force dropped the idea of the improved NAT, then Rolls-Royce also had to drop their project. The 703 was producing a thrust of 20 kilonewtons.
Okay.
The improved one would have produced a thrust of 35 kilonewtons. And Marut was a double engine, twin engine aircraft. It would have given almost 70 kilonewtons. And the Air Force had planned a Mach 2.0, double the speed of sound fighter. It never got it because the 703 went into the HF-24 because the government did not agree to Rolls-Royce co-developing the new engine along with India, and all they wanted was $3 million. That was not sanctioned. So HF Marut was powered by the 703, which did not have a wet thrust. It was a dry thrust engine, and HF Marut remained an underpowered fighter, which was then phased out very soon.
Okay.
So this is the kind of mistake. Designing a fighter without an engine in mind and later getting into same mistake has been repeated. So what do? Of course, we have this proposal to have a joint venture with SNECMA, who I believe quoted a price of $500 million for co-developing. But some reports say that it would actually not be a co-development. They will bring the core of the M88, which powers the Rafale, and put it into the Kaveri. So we will not get the technology as such. As it is, a committee under Air Marshal Matheshwaran had come to the conclusion that whatever comes out of it would not be suitable for the Indian Air Force.
Okay.
So how and when will the Kaveri be uprated, redesigned, redeveloped? The problem is that Kaveri is heavy. It can't go into the LCA Mark II for the thrust that it gives. You require more thrust and you have to lower the weight of the engine. Two big challenging tasks.
Okay. Air Marshal Bhatia, from your point of view, if that happens, then what General Arora is saying, if we go on that particular trajectory, then the option left is to restart the entire process again. Understand, now this time around, put the horse before the cart.
Well, you know, just to get the historical perspective right now, the General brought out that thing about the Marut. I would like to say the same thing is what we did with in the case of Tejas and Kaveri was being done there. But just to put the perspective right, when we designed the Marut, at that time we were very friendly. You know, Pandit Nehru was very friendly with the Abdul Kamal Nasser of Egypt. So it was decided that it is going to be a joint venture between India and Egypt. India was to produce the airframe, which had produced the Marut, and Egypt was supposed to produce the engine. But as you know, that did not happen.
Okay.
And finally, we were left without any engines. And then, incidentally, the Marut was supposed to be a Mark II aircraft, supersonic aircraft. Okay, and it was supposed to fly on one engine, single engine. But when that did not happen, then they had to make do with two of these small engines which we were producing under license for the NAT in India. And that is how Marut landed up with two of these small underpowered engines.
So we learn from all our experiences, past as well as the one with the Kaveri, and then move on further that way, is that?
So I think the best way to do it, you know, I would like to give you the example of China itself. China, technologically, we all understand and know and accept that is far ahead of us now. But even they have found it very difficult to produce a jet engine on their own to power their fighters. They have relied all these years on the Russian technology. They have tried their very best. They are succeeding up to a point, but they have not fully succeeded even today. So where does the path lie? The path lies by collaborating with people who know how to do it. And if we can do that and do it successfully, I'm sure in the years to come, not far in the future, we'll be able to have an engine of our own. May not be to power the Tejas, but perhaps to power the AMCA or AMCA.
Okay. That's a very interesting point. Let me bring Manu here. The AMCA program and, you know, as far as Indian Air Force's requirements are concerned on the number of fighter aircrafts in future, then from that perspective, we do have the option of developing our own engine and work on it as soon as possible. And with going back to the AMCA part, there has been statements, you know, wherein the Air Force had said that they would want a preference for the indigenous engine.
Yeah, and I agree with the Air Marshal when he says that we need a foreign collaborator for this engine. Like the Chinese have not been able to do it. India has the luxury of choosing collaborators. We are in a unique position. The Russians will help you, the French will help you, the Brits will help you, the Americans might help you. So we have to leverage this. We also have to make a commercial case for it. And a commercial case comes only with numbers. So like you mentioned the AMCA program, the Air Force is very clear that the AMCA program, maybe the first two squadrons have an American GE 414 engine, but the future will be Indian engines. So if you present a case that, in the next 15 years, I need 1,000 engines because I'm going to make 500 aircraft with those engines on board, that gives these foreign collaborators the incentive to actually share technology. You can leverage that. I think that's the way to go ahead. What we have not done in the past is use this. When the LCA was being developed in the 90s and the engine was being developed, we didn't know how many LCAs were going to be ordered. Today you have clear indication, you have a clear government mandate. The Air Force is clear, they want to order 200 more LCAs of the Mark II version. Possibly if the Kaveri happens that fast, it might go there, but that's difficult as of now. AMCA is going to be the future fighter, which will see numbers of at least 200 if not more. So when you consolidate these numbers, you come to a very lucrative 1,000 jet engine plus market in India. And we have to use that now to get this foreign collaboration. And I think the way with which we have used offsets in the past, the Air Marshal mentioned about the Rafale offsets, we should leverage that, use them, direct them towards what we require, as we know which questions to ask, as we know what technology we want, direct it there and get the foreign collaborators to come and work here.
Okay.
That's the way forward as I see it.
Okay. General Arora, from what Manu is saying, economy of scale is something which we can use, as he's pointing out, to our advantage.
Very much. Aero engines at the heart of the aviation and aerospace industry. If you want to become an aerospace power, you have to produce your own engines. And why? Because the government of India has predicted in the next 20 years, aero engines market is going to be, military aero engines market is going to be 350,000 crore rupees worth. Every aircraft has a fighter aircraft has a life of say 40 years or 10,000 hours, and that is including the overhauls. And for every 2 engines, 1 engine is kept as reserve. The number of aircraft and helicopters which are planned for induction in the next 15 years is so many that the requirement of engines runs into thousands. And so, to avoid dependence on imports, we have to produce our own engines. So far, we had only one PSU, that is HAL, producing aircraft, overhauling engines, repairs, and assembling them in India. But that's not the same thing as designing and developing and manufacturing a new engine. So they are subject to government controls, government funds, bureaucratic, red tape. You can't produce such technological marvels if you are just a government company. There are examples of government companies doing it abroad. So you have to have a PPP model, public-private partnership. Till 91, our private industry was not allowed to get into this sector. But now they are producing for foreign majors many of the parts of aircraft which go out and they are put into their assembly lines. We have built up some talent and expertise. So, and the funds can be put in by the private players. Institutions. Now, DRDO also has got a number of labs. Our National Aeronautics Laboratory, our ADA, CEMILAC, GTRE. There are a number of DRDO labs, plus our IITs. They have to get involved. Everybody has to get involved as a national mission if you have to produce. We should tap the Japanese. They are very advanced in aero engine technologies now. Although earlier I said there are only 4 countries in the world, and the Air Marshal said the Chinese have managed to copy steel and reverse engineer aero engine, but nobody buys Chinese aero engines. They are not up to the mark. So if need be, yes, we should collaborate with the foreign companies through joint ventures, but we should ensure that the technology comes in. The earlier we get an indigenously produced engine, the better.
Okay, the earlier we get it, the better. Air Marshal Bhatia, concluding comments from you.
Yeah, I would say that we are on the right path. Let us leverage the offsets which are available to us from the Rafale deal. As you know, as much as $3.5 to $4 billion worth of offsets are available to us. And out of that, if we look at Safran itself, it will be between $500 million to $1 billion for the Safran itself. We must leverage that. We must have a joint collaboration with them. We must create the testing facilities, the proper facilities in the country, both in terms of creating the metallurgy and in terms of testing. And if we can get together and get these technologies on board, I'm sure we'll be able to leverage this offset. A very good chance with us. There is quite a possibility that we may buy even more of these Rafales, which will give us a little more offsets. And we should be able to do that and move in the right direction to produce the engine.
Okay, so we need to go.
But we must also do it minus the political bureaucratic apathy.
Okay.
We have to
definitely.
do that.
Definitely. This will have to have